Hi guys and good morning. My name is Jasmine McDonald. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you haven't seen me here, I post ballet and fitness related videos every single Tuesday, Thursday, and now Sunday. And happy Vlogmas Day 19. Now I figured I would do a little get ready with me because I just finished teaching my morning class, and you guys know I never do makeup in my first morning class because it's at 8 or 7:45 a.m. and that's just the last thing I want to do first thing. I want to have my coffee, I want to have my breakfast, I want to do my skincare and be ready for the class. But that being said, I am doing an online ballet class in an hour, so I figured I would do a little get ready with me and also get to know me because I've done that lots of times on my TikTok, but I don't believe I've ever done it on my YouTube channel before. So without further ado, let's get started. I already did my skin prep and I've been using the Cetaphil moisturizing lotion as well as the Cetaphil gentle skin cleanser every single day, and I also use the caffeine drops on my under eyes. Now I will say, whenever I do my skincare with the caffeine drops, it always looks weird whenever I put concealer on top, but I assume because I've let it kind of set in for the last hour and a little bit because I was teaching online, it should be okay. My skin feels nice and smooth and prepped. So first things first, I have my hair up in a claw clip for ballet today because it's online, not in person. I'm gonna wear a claw clip. I'm just gonna like fix it and make it less chaotic. But I've been wearing concealer lately, and the concealer I have been using is the Kosas concealer, and yes, I've made a mess inside my makeup bag. It wouldn't be a true get ready with me, and it wouldn't be very realistic if it wasn't a mess, because I am a hot mess. I'm not even a hot mess, I'm just a mess. So I like to put on the concealer first because I put it on my under eyes. Now this makeup routine is something I use for every day as well as ballet class. I've been not using a lot of makeup when it comes to my cheeks because, as you guys can see, I'm breaking out a little bit. Nothing to worry about, it's not that big a deal. I keep telling myself that anyways, but like I said, I've been avoiding wearing makeup here, and I've just put a little bit of concealer on the spots now that they're calmed down a little bit. But I did get some PR packages in the mail from Maybelline, so I'm super excited to try them out today. Now I'm just going to let this concealer set because I find that just letting it mattify a little bit more on my face gives me more coverage and it lasts a little bit longer and blends in a little bit better. So I'm going to use the Rare Beauty blush around my nose. Once again, I'm not going to use a lot on my cheeks. I might use a little bit, but I'm just going to put a little bit of blush nose. I don't tend to do this much coverage when I'm doing ballet class, but since I'm online today and I'm probably just going to do a point class, it's going to be pretty light, and this is all pretty light stuff, and this makeup I feel like doesn't clog my pores. And I always shower after class, so I end up taking my makeup off anyways, but I like to wear makeup in class, especially during like sugar plum season. I like to feel all warm and all, you know, princessy. You know what? I've changed my mind. I am going to put a little bit of blush. And you know what? When I was younger, here's the get to know me, I had like flawless skin. I never, you know, when I went through puberty, I never had breakouts. It wasn't until my 20s where I started to have like pretty major, not major, I shouldn't say major. They were nothing like huge. They were like this, or they were like cystic acne pimples, like a singular pimple. I didn't experience that until I was in my 20s. And I was just so distraught when that started happening because it started happening as I got out of school and I was already a professional ballerina, and I couldn't figure out why. I thought maybe it's what I'm eating, maybe it's like my pillowcase, maybe I'm allergic to something, having a bad reaction. I figured these are because of my pillowcase because I have to change it still, and I sleep on the left side of my face, and then I actually picked at one of them. So yeah, it does tend to spread if you pick at it more, but I couldn't figure out for the life of me why I was breaking out so much, and I attribute it to the fact now, knowing that I had no sleep, I had pretty poor nutrition, I was barely drinking water, and I was overall just really anxious and tired, and I think that was just showing up in my skin. And as soon as I started nourishing myself better, I took better care of myself, my skin was so glowy. Now I am really far from the mirror. My setup, the tripod's like 4 feet in front of the mirror right now, so I have no idea how this is blending. So I'm just gonna take out like a compact, or you know what? I'm going to move you guys a little bit better for this purpose. Yeah, I did not blend that whatsoever, so I'm glad that I moved closer to the mirror. And since this is a get ready with me while getting to know me, I figured I would start from the beginning, from the humble beginning. So I grew up in Southwestern Ontario. Wow, I put this concealer way too low, but that's okay. I grew up in Southwestern Ontario, and I started dance when I was like a little girl. My parents signed me up to a studio that was literally like a 5-minute drive, and it's funny because because they didn't choose the studio. I mean, obviously, like they must have done their research and known it was a really good studio, but they honestly chose it because we were so close. You know, we ended up actually picking like the best studio in the area, the best studio as an option with the best teachers, the best faculty, and the best facility. Like we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 studios or 6 studios. And now that I work at a studio and I tour to studios a lot of the time in the summer when I'm guest teaching, having more than 2 studios is such a luxury. So I grew up pretty privileged in a sense that my studio had so much space. The owner who ran the studio was super amazing, always so supportive. I actually didn't join the competitive team until I think I was 11 years old because I just did recreational for the longest time. I was really in love with music. I took piano since I was 3 or 4 years old. I think I was 4, and I did it for 10 years. And I loved piano so much, I just couldn't dedicate the time to competition. Also, when I auditioned, I didn't get into the competitive team, so I just kind of gave up for a while after that because it wasn't really what was calling to me. What was calling to me was music, funnily enough. Did I end up in the music world? Absolutely not. By no means did I end up in the music world. That being said, I continued with music and I continued with other after school and weekend activities. I did gymnastics for a while too. I ended up dropping that so I could do dance more because I just really like freedom in dance. I really like the expression in dance. Gymnastics, as fun as it is and as structured as it is, just didn't give me the freedom of movement, I feel like. I mean, I'm saying this as I literally don't remember. Oh my gosh, this is not blending well at all. You know what? It's this caffeine drops. That's what I'm saying. I think something in the caffeine drops like doesn't let concealer blend out or something. It's so weird. But like I was saying, you know what? I'm just gonna have to start from scratch here. That's okay. I'm gonna remove the concealer and hopefully not affect the rest of it. Oh, you know what? You live and you learn. You live and you learn. But like I was saying, I just really enjoyed dance so much. I made such good friends at dance. And I think that's another reason I liked continuing it the most. I don't remember any friends from gymnastics, to be honest, but I remember all of my dance friends. I remember all of my closest friends. I remember going to dance and being so excited to see this person. And I remember how devastating it was when they weren't there that day because they were sick or something. Oh my gosh. But I digress. So I continued dance for a while and I still continued music. I still really enjoyed music, but I will say I think I still preferred dance. So I ended up taking more styles because my parents originally, I think they signed me up for like a jazz/tap class, you know, kind of like kinder dance. So I did that once a week for a while. And then as a kid, I got into ballet. I remember vividly Saturday mornings getting ready for ballet was so horrendous because I hated putting on tights. Like I know that's such a petty thing, but it's funny now to think about. Oh my gosh. I still have makeup on my hands too. It's so funny now to think about because like now I wear them every single day. And when I was a kid, I despised wearing tights. I really did not like wearing tights. I would like throw little hissy fits in my room. I remember I'd pull the tights out and be like, I don't want to wear them. You know, like when you do that as a kid. I don't know if anybody else did that, but I was never a kid who acted out. And I was really never a kid who like misbehaved. I was overall a good kid, but I just find it funny that I just throw my own little hissy fits with no audience. Like at least, why didn't you have an audience, girl? Like why didn't you at least? But anyways, it's probably better that way. Less embarrassing. So I continued dance for a while at my studio. I didn't do competition, so I was doing it like 1, 2, 3 times a week, probably 2 times a week because I really liked ballet. I really enjoyed taking classes with my teacher who used to be a professional ballerina at the Swedish National Ballet, and she was really inspiring, and I think she saw something in me as well. In fact, I know she did because I was probably the only girl in that class who wasn't on the pre-competitive or the competitive team, and I remember I was like so in love with ballet and she always used me as an example, and I always stood at the front of the bar. I just loved listening to her. However, I remember feeling left out at a point. I remember I felt really left out that I couldn't be on the team, or I was really left out that I wasn't doing the exam. My parents probably just had no idea there was an exam class because I asked my mom the other day, I was like, why didn't I do the exam? She's like, I don't know. Was there another class? But I remember feeling really left out. So I auditioned for the team again, didn't get in. Just gonna moisturize my lips, it's really dry today. And then I kept auditioning, and then I think it was like the 2nd or 3rd time I auditioned, I got into the pre-competitive team, not the full competitive team. So I did that for a year, and then I improved a lot that year. Like I remember I put everything into my dancing. I fell in love performing, I fell in love with competitions, I fell in love with the atmosphere of performing. Like not just the competition aspect, because I didn't honestly really care what my mark is. because I just like going on stage and portraying a character and, you know, giving my all on stage. I just felt like that was my true calling. We'll find out soon that it was. So then the next year I did competitive. I auditioned for the competitive team. I got in with my friends who were also in pre-comp. So that was a bonus because, you know, it's hard enough to join a team brand new, but it's really difficult to join it without any friends already. So the fact that I joined the competitive team with my friends was so incredible. So I joined the team and I did competitive for 2 years. Not a long time because my teacher at the time, my ballet teacher, suggested that I should audition for National Ballet of Canada. So I did, and I didn't get in, but my friend at the time did. And I was like, not jealous, but I envied her so much, which I guess is jealous, but not in a, I didn't hold, is contempt the right word? I didn't hold anything against her. Like I was never mad at her, but I knew like, oh my gosh, why couldn't that be me? Like, why aren't I good enough? But rather than just like being sad, I was sad the first year. I was really sad. I like bawled my eyes out. I bawled my eyes out the second year too. But I just tried my best in class moving forward, and I auditioned the following year. Didn't get in again. And that year I was distraught. I was an emotional wreck. I was in the car. My parents were inside and they were watching the Olympics. And I remember it was the gold medal game, I guess, between Canada and Russia, I think. And they came out. My mom would come out between periods and like between the commercial breaks and be like, or actually my dad was coming out because my mom stayed in the car with me and was like, Jasmine, why don't we like, I know you're really upset, but let's go back in. It was so hysterical because I was hysterical and my mom was being so supportive, and my dad would be like, so-and-so just scored, and walk out in the garage because we were just like sitting in the car in the garage while I was bawling my eyes out because I thought my future was ruined. Little did I know, within the next 5 days, National Ballet School of Canada would be reaching out to my parents to actually offer me a spot in the summer program. Now, if you don't know how programs work at ballet schools, basically you have to audition usually at a summer program so they can kind of get to know how you work with the teachers, how you are in terms of like how respectful you are and how able you are to take criticism, because I know there were some girls that, to be honest, had bad attitudes, and they're not going to take that because they're not going to offer them a spot there. And if you have a bad attitude during the year, you're out. So anyways, I went to the ballet school for the summer, loved it. Absolutely loved it. I was thriving, but they called my parents to let me know before I go to the summer school that I probably shouldn't give up my hopes and shouldn't expect a spot in the full-time program because I'm just so far behind. Like I literally just started point a few months before the audition. So I basically went in like with no point experience, basically just like rises and a couple bourrées. Like I really didn't do much point beforehand, whereas the girls in my class had been doing point since they were like 10 years old and I was 14 at the time. So I was pretty far behind them. That being said, because I was far behind them, they put me in a class younger than me. Now at first I was distraught, same thing. I was so distraught, and I called my mom, and mom's like, well, you know, you're having a great opportunity right now. Enjoy it. And I just remember feeling like not even embarrassed, but a little bit. Not embarrassed the fact that I was in a class that was younger, but embarrassed the fact that I wasn't with my friends. I felt left out because they'd be like talking about ballet class in my room. They'd be talking about like their class, and I was the only one in the setting. And it's not their fault. They're just having a good time remembering, you know, what happened in class that day. But I just remember thinking like, why can't I be with them? Like, I just want to be with my friends. I feel so left out. So again, feeling left out seems to be a theme here, and I do not like feeling left out. So I've gotten better at that, by the way. So anyways, I worked really hard during that summer, and after 2 weeks, they actually offered me a full-time spot at the school. So I ended up staying at the ballet school for 6 years. I did grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, and 2 post-secondary programs. The first post-secondary program, I actually got really injured. I broke my heel bone. I know. I actually had a stress fracture, and my doctor at the time was also a doctor, like the Toronto Raptors and a bunch of athletes, and he was like, in all my years, I've never, ever, ever seen somebody with a stress fracture in their heel. Yeah, it was such a random, localized spot that was so rare. But anyways, I digress. So I pretty much took that year and a half, like I took a while off. I went back too soon at one point, which is a life lesson I've learned because I've repeated that a couple of times in my life where I just get injured and then I get too excited to go back and I miss it. I miss my friends. I miss the feeling of being in class because that's where I belong. And I go back too soon, I injure myself even more. So if you're somebody who's injured right now, just take it easy. Here, like, you know, from my experience, just know for me, take it easy. It's okay taking this time now will allow you to prolong your career in the future. There's no need to rush back, especially if it's against doctor's orders. So anyways, I went back too soon, ended up having to put a boot on for 8 weeks when I was in the post-secondary program, and I missed out on so much more. If I had just stayed in bed and not walked on my foot, I would have been so much better off. But yeah, so I grew up in southwestern Ontario, like I mentioned, and I guess I've talked about this in the past a little bit. I won't go too into detail because I want to keep this video lighthearted, but my dad passed away when I was 17, and that was obviously the most difficult thing to deal with, you know. It's still difficult to deal with. I still carry that weight with me nearly every day, especially during certain times of the year, like the holidays are really hard, but you know, it's been 10 years as of this year. But after he passed, it was just really me and my mom. I have half siblings, but they're so much older than me. And, you know, it was really just me and my mom going through that. I mean, they went through it too, but they had their own families and everything. But me and my mom had each other, thankfully. And yeah, we ended up moving from that house. It was all too much. We stayed in there for, I think, a couple years after. And then she met somebody new after a few years. And now we live up here and we love where we live in more northern Ontario. I am obsessed. I will never leave this area because I love the fact that we're so close to the water. We're so close to so many nature activities. If I want to go on a hike, if I want to go on a swim, if I want to go, I don't know, there's like caves, there's waterfalls. I love it. Obviously there's things like that in southwestern Ontario too, but it's just closer to the cities, it's closer to the states. I just love it up here. Speaking of loving things, I got this package from Maybelline, New York. I'm pretty much done my makeup. I'm going to apply I just did my mascara. I totally forgot to try out this Sky High Maybelline mascara. I know this is one my mom loves and she stands it, and she tried to give it to me the other day and I was like, keep it for yourself because I just got mascara. But now I get to try it, so I'm really excited to try it. I totally forgot, so I'll have to try it tomorrow because now I have mascara on. I don't want to mix the formula. But they also sent me the Superstay Matte Ink lipsticks, and I tried a couple of shades on, and I'll put some videos on the side here of all the different shades. But my favorite, I think, has to be Seductress, but I also really like Lover, and I feel like I want to put Lover on today, even though my look is very naturally glowy. Maybe I should do Seductress. All these 3 shades are so beautiful for so many different reasons, so many different occasions. Let's see. I think I'm gonna go bold today. Why not? I'm gonna put on Lover. Also, still getting to know me, I guess I should talk about my pets because I love my pets. You guys know that. I have a dog and I have a cat. My dog's name is Elsa. She's a black lab. She's 8 years old, and Luna is, I believe, 5 or 6 years old, and she's a black cat. And I didn't do that on purpose. In fact, Steve had Elsa before we started dating, and I had Luna before we started dating. And when we met, I was like, here's my cat. And then he's like, here's my dog. Actually, I saw his dog on his Tinder profile, and that's mostly the reason I swiped right. I'm just kidding, but not really. But it just happened to be that we had very similar animals, and they get along great, so that's great. We were worried about that moving in because we waited a year to let them meet. Since I moved into Steve's apartment, his basement apartment at his parents' house, I didn't bring Luna there. First of all, because they lived in the country and I was nervous about her running away and, coyotes and such. And second of all, it's Elsa's space. So I didn't want to bring in an animal when it's one animal's territory, because animals can be very territorial. They're animals after all. So we ended up introducing them when we bought the house and we moved in together. So it's their house now and they very much get along. So that is awesome. But speaking of pets, I grew up with cats all my life. I never had a dog. I always loved dogs, but I was always afraid of them. But I like dogs and I love dogs now. I liked dogs as a kid. I loved puppies. I remember getting those little McDonald's stuffies. I had this little pug and I was in love with him. Now that I know how pugs are bred, I know I would never own a pug. They're still adorable, but just knowing, all that, if that's your choice, that's your choice. I'm not trying to say what you should do and what you shouldn't. But anyways, I adopted Luna because I always had cats, and Steve had Elsa before we met, and he always had dogs growing up. I think he had a bunny too, and a guinea pig or something like that. But anyways, I always had cats. I had a cat named Coco when I was a kid, and she didn't live a long time because she had a heart problem and she passed away pretty young. It was really sad. But then we got Simba, and he lived for 18 years, I believe. Mom, correct me if I'm wrong, but he lived a really long life. He lived until 2021 or 2020. And then I got Luna when I was overseas in Romania, so she is literally a Romanian cat. When I tell people that, they're like, wait, actually, why'd you get her in Romania? I was like, well, A, because I live there. And they're like, why would you get a cat? I'm like, why wouldn't I? Why? Basically, my friend's cat had gotten out, gotten pregnant, and had a bunch of kittens. Well, 2 kittens, and she couldn't take care of them. So she kept one, and she was like, you can take the other. And I was like, oh my gosh, of course. So I took Luna. But anyways, that concludes my getting ready, guys. I'm just going to, I guess, go back to work, and then I'm going to do a ballet class after that. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, happy dancing, and until tomorrow, bye now.